Okay, so I'm going to start by asking who was affected by the Alberta floods in the last 2 years? Hands? I know I was. My sympathies go out to you. It was not easy. Today I'm going to talk about the High River floods, but more importantly, I'm going to talk about the importance of family through stressful situations. So my family is from High River, and most still call it home. And so I think those affected would agree that it hit fast and it hit hard. I remember the morning of being a complete shock that High River was flooding. It did happen every year, so it wasn't like completely shocking, but this was on a whole new level. So it started it was a brand new day, and it was like completely normal. My cousin went to school, and it was like, okay, nothing's gonna happen. We had our phones close to us, so we were like, maybe we might have to go sandbag, maybe not, we'll see. But as I said, my cousin was at school, and all of a sudden it was just evacuation. Everyone leave, everyone get out. The water levels raised in a blink of an eye. My grandma lives off the golf course, and so the water levels at first were threatening. This is kind of in between what I'm talking about, but then the next it was filling her basement. Yeah, it got up to the first level. It's crazy. My grandma and aunt were able to wade out of the water, but it was about just above the knee length, so that was their look back. That car, if you see the silver car, it actually got completely covered, and it was moved around because the water took it away. My grandpa wasn't so lucky, as he lives on the outskirts of High River, and the water got too high too fast, and he had to be rescued off his roof by a helicopter. I remember my mom coming into my room, and the phone call she had got an hour before was completely calm, and then all of a sudden her whole family was on their way to our house in Calgary. So it's quite interesting. My mom's not a very emotional person, but you could totally see the emotion in her face because both her parents had just lost everything. To say the least, the floods were 14 days long of evacuation, and it was 14 days of waiting, high emotion, and a lot of exhaustion. This was the first indication of the floods. So my grandma's house is right on the corner, and you can kind of see that the garage was open. And this was me just watching the news randomly, and I see, oh my goodness, that's the first indication of my grandma's house. Like, what's happening? You can see that silver car isn't there anymore. It floated away, and that new car was there. The months after being back were even more grueling. You don't understand how heavy mud is until you've physically lifted mountains and mountains of it. So here are some photos of the damage. That's just a backyard. These ones, the boats were actually in storage lockers across the street, and they had come in and completely destroyed the houses beside it. Some people had boats in their living rooms because the water just took it right through it. This is my grandma's basement attire stuff, so everything was emptied. This is driving around High River. This one's a little bit of a funny photo because this is a very busy road right here, and all of a sudden there was just a boat randomly in there, and that was the day that we were let back in. So you had to see humor in some of the stuff. This evacuation and this flood was really grueling, and it was hard on all of us, but believe it or not, I actually saw it as a good memory and a good summer because I got to see my family for 2 weeks, and I am a complete family first person, and it was the best time for me. Not for them probably, but for me, I was like, yes, my family, I get to wake up to them every morning. This year we joked about maybe going to Disneyland and then next year if it flooded, because we're not waiting around for 2 weeks here. Again, that is not happening. We depended on each other, and it felt great. So here's some photos of my family. This is them modeling the new floodwear. You can see the mud gets up everywhere. My parents smiling, and a group shot of the mud covering us. You really don't realize how important being surrounded by loved ones is until it is what you need to carry on. And I'm going to end this on a happy note. I'm a flower person. I love flowers. And so wandering through the destruction, I found these flowers growing through a lot of mud. Like it was probably about that much mud. And it's just hard to comprehend that they grew through that. But I found inspiration through those flowers. And I found it a perfect metaphor for what was happening. Those flowers were resilient, the people affected by the floods were resilient, and my family is definitely resilient.